What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name's Lucky Brain. I'm going to be doing some AFL fantasy related content and obviously reaction to the live games. Now, I just want to start with last night's game. Jesus. I thought the boys, they were in a shot to win it the whole game until basically the last 10 minutes. Thought the effort was kind of there. The doggies obviously wanted it more, and God, they're a quality side. McRae, Bontempelli was just unstoppable in that first half. So clean, and that's the one thing we've kind of lacked for a good couple of years is cleanliness around the ball and abilities to hit the target and all that type of stuff. I thought last night was particularly disappointing because I went to the game thinking that I always thought their midfield was going to be a challenge for us. Like last week, I didn't see us going into the game against Geelong last week. I didn't really see us winning the midfield battle like we did. And then when it rained so heavily yesterday, I'm thinking, oh, that would be the great evener upper. I thought it was set up for people like Ollie Wines and for whatever reason that just didn't eventuate, did it? I thought selection was quite poor. We had 6 first-year players out, which is kind of where I've been at all year with our team. A lot of people have given us a lot of stick, mainly internally, internal supporters. I find that really disappointing. We've blooded so many good youngsters this year and been very unlucky with injury. If you would have said at the start of the year who you could afford to be without, especially with the new 666 rule coming in, Charlie Dixon was one that we just couldn't afford to lose him at the start of the year, and since he's come in the last 2 games, I think he's been brilliant. And last night was not the game for him, but his physicality and it was very impressive performance by Charlie. Selection wise, I think there could have been a lot done yesterday. Like early in the day, they would have seen that it was absolutely bucketing down. We had forecast thunderstorms from about 1-2 o'clock yesterday. In hindsight, the selection of Laddams, though I thought he played pretty well, was as good as a 6'2" guy can play, or 6'4" guys can play in the wet. I thought, surprisingly, he was clean and his possession was actually quite good. Took a solid mark and converted in that, I think it was the 3rd quarter. You can't be too critical of him as an individual, but going into that, when you know it's going to be belting down like that, and in hindsight, you pick Rockcliffe over him and go small, don't you? That's really my only qualm with selection. Dersma probably had his worst game for the year, which is unfortunate. He's been so good for us this year. But ideally we would have liked Rocky in that situation, and seeing how he went in the Maggies yesterday with the 57 touches and 203 fantasy points. His cleanliness in the midfield would have been, something we could have done with. Even someone like Pau Pepper, that kind of weather is kind of set up for him. And being dropped last week, he would have brought some intensity, which we definitely lacked, intensity and physicality. Take nothing away from the doggies, though. Jesus, they were amazing. And I followed them quite closely because my dream team's got 3 Bulldogs in there at the moment, and I was looking to add a 4th, and that was Caleb Daniel. But I've got Bontempelli, I've got McRae, I've got Dunkley, so I'm under no illusion as to how good their form has been. And Jesus, McRae had a second half last night. He was just, he was just amazing. But and ultimately, it was the adaptation to the conditions that really won it for him in the end. We tried to overplay it at times. Too many handballs. Which is really disappointing. The doggies came with a game plan that was sustainable in the wet. Not wanting to pick the ball up and get cute little soccers in that just gain meterage and all that type of stuff. Ollie was very poor last night. I don't understand how you can come back from so long out and, he was fantastic against Geelong the week before, and I think he only had 5 kicks last night, Ollie, and that's really inexcusable for an in and under mid. I thought Farrell was pretty good. Stats probably didn't show it that much. I saw he was on the bottom end, bottom end of the list yesterday. But I thought he was quite good in his shutdown role on Caleb Daniel. After watching Daniel the week before against Collingwood, he really set them up from the back and all that type of stuff. And Farrell did a lot to shut that down, which was fantastic. Showdown this week is going to be interesting. Which port's going to rock up? Selection's going to be very interesting. Obviously, Hoffy kicked 3 in the Samful. I don't think you can afford to lose at all by taking, if you're going to take Laddams out, what do you do? Obviously Dougal Howard will be back, so that's probably one change that's easily made. Amon's going to come back into the mix. I thought he's been fantastic for the last 5 weeks, and I've been one of his biggest critics. I thought, although his possession was really good, his intensity and hardness of the ball was questionable. But that's completely flipped in the last month. He's been a really solid contributor. So he comes in. I think Motlop has to go out. I thought Motlop had to go out 2 weeks ago, but some of his efforts yesterday were just, for a bloke that's got all the skill in the world, and just not up to AFL standard. Amon for Motlop is a pretty straight swap, I would have thought. Rocky has to play, so Drew probably goes back to the Maggies, I think. So that's 3 changes by itself, and I think you've got to find a spot for Sam Powell-Pepper. He had 30 touches yesterday, took the dropping pretty well. I think that's a change that has to be made as well. Get some hardness in the middle. It's going to be an interesting end to the season. I'd be really disheartened if we fell away. At the start of the year, I was looking at our fixture and I thought we'd be, I think it was, what was the showdown, round 8? I thought we'd be 2-6 after that. At the start of the year, knowing the kids that we would have to play and all that type of stuff. So I think there is an element where we've overachieved quite significantly, actually. In that regards, big up to the coaching staff. They've really, they've nailed some solid results when we've been undermanned. But now I think it's almost time to start resting the kids. I don't know whether that's the weather for Dersma, but Butters might be in a bit of trouble to stay on the side next week. So, it'll be interesting. The Crows were obviously quite good against Geelong for 2 or 3 quarters last week. I don't rate them. I think they're quite lucky to be where they are for the effort they've put in this year. I think Melbourne definitely should have beaten them, and I don't know what GWS were on for that night that they came to the Adelaide Oval the other week, and yeah, so they're not as scary as they look. No Jenkins, there'll be no hopefully the big red herring misses as well, and hopefully we'll put in a bit more of a better performance. It's going to be interesting to see how Dicko goes against Talia. Talia's often, had him in his back pocket the last couple of years, so a big challenge for Charlie Dixon there. I think he will get helped out by having Dougal down there as well. He definitely missed a second up. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about as well, was just the entries inside forward 50. When we played against West Coast at the start of the year, similar conditions, not quite as torrential, the rain and all that type of stuff, but similar conditions, and they talked about the amount of dirty ball they wanted to get into forward 50 and then have small forwards around to Crum, and I thought forward 50 entries was particularly poor last night. We kept going to pack marks, and whereas the Doggies, they did a little bit more to the conditions. They had 2 or 3 in their forward 50, and then a flood back, almost Pagan's paddock type style, and that really worked for them. It didn't work for us. We looked clustered in the forward line, had a lot of entries, but turned into a contested thing where they had numbers and we didn't in the forward line, and it led to easy escapes at times. Hamish has been really good. He was particularly impressive in that first quarter. We were looking like we could get blown away, and we kind of were. Like 15 points in that weather was always going to be hard to get back, and when you look at it, we lose by 26 points, and that 15 points at the start of the game just was unassailable. We kept trying to push for it, but never really got there. Some stages in that last quarter, I thought we were going to pinch it, and the third quarter, to be honest, as well. They did well when we were really coming and the crowd was getting into it, and to regroup and get back out to that 2.5, 3 goal lead at 3/4 time. They did really well to rescue that. So take nothing away from the Doggies. We've got a lot of work to do. It's going to be an interesting showdown week, but hopefully I'll be able to consistently upload going forward. I want to do some fantasy type talk, and that's going to be the basis of the channel, is some fantasy talk, some football reviews. I wanted to drop a video on the GWS Essendon game on Thursday, which I thought was just a cracker, and Essendon did really well to get back into that game, and obviously run over the top of them. The umpiring in that game, questionable as per usual, especially when non-Victorian teams are involved. It's been a hell of a season. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed, especially our team. Like, as I said, I had very low expectations coming into the season, and to see the way they've performed, and they've shown a lot of guts. Which is really good. So hopefully we'll continue to see that, and I think we've got a pretty good run. Well, after next week, so we'll see how we go. Hopefully we can dig out a result next week. But drop a like, subscribe if you like the content, and we'll continue to do this going forward. And not a bad way to start your first video, I suppose. Though I'd much rather be talking about a win. So cool. Have a good day, guys, and talk to you soon.